One of the easiest ways for Nigerians to bond is through our political story. It is very, very easy for two Nigerians to just meet and be friends immediately by speaking about our political troubles and all. Hello, friends, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to be talking about The Trouble with Nigeria. It's a book by Chinua Achebe. This book was written in the year 1983 and published in 1984. It is having 10 chapters in total, and it is very, very concise for you to read. You can read this book within a day. So I'll dive in immediately. The first chapter is titled Where the Problem Lies. I'll read an excerpt from it. On the morning after Murtala Mohammed seized power in July 1975, public servants in Lagos were found on seats at 7:30 in the morning. Even the go-slow traffic that had defeated every solution and defied every regime vanished overnight from the streets. Why? The new ruler's reputation for ruthlessness was sufficient to transform in the course of only one night the style and habits of Nigeria's unruly capital. That the character of one man could establish that quantum change in a people's social behavior was nothing less than miraculous, but it shows that social miracles can happen. We know, alas, that transformation was short-lived. It had begun to fade even before the tragic assassination of Murtala Muhammad. This chapter introduced us into our problem. It talks about how we've been suffering from leadership and how we actually can change the country, but we need a lot of policies that will support our leaders. So the story I read earlier reminded me of when President Buhari came into power in 2015. So a lot of renovations took place in the first week because people were actually scared that okay, they've heard that okay, this man is reputable, he's this, he's that, like he's going to start arresting people and all. So a lot of renovations were actually taking place at Kwagwalada, even in Abaji here. I remember our market was about being renovated before everything started. People started understanding that okay, this government is actually going to be uh, like the usual. Chapter 2 is titled Tribalism, and what he wrote here is Mr. A and Mr. B can actually go for a job, and Mr. A will be very qualified for the job, but because Mr. B is actually the same tribe with the people hiring, they will prefer Mr. B, even though he's very less qualified. And if he eventually screws the job up, he will still be retained because, okay, we have the same tribe. And it basically goes on even today. So imagine how accurate that is. He also wrote about how students find it very hard to gain admission because of tribe and all, and we know that's actually going on. He also wrote about how we find it difficult sometimes to get our Nigerian passport because of our tribe. He summarized this chapter with a story of how he wrote a recommendation for his students at the University of Pittsburgh in USA. So on the letter, it said it had this instruction that okay, there should be no statement which will indicate the applicant's race, his creed, and I think his religion. So imagine what Americans are doing and how backward we are when it comes to religion and all. Chapter 3 is titled False Images of Ourselves. So I'm going to read an excerpt from this chapter also, so you have an idea. In June 1979, former Chancellor Helmut Schmidt of West Germany made this comment about his country. Germany is not a world power. It does not wish to become a world power. In August of the same year, General Olusegun Obasanjo said of Nigeria during his thank you tour of Ogun State, Nigeria will become one of the 10 leading nations in the world by the end of the century. So what this chapter basically talks about is our leaders are talk more and do less people. They're kind of people that are frequent talkers, like they talk, but doing the work is actually the problem. But they are frequent talkers, like they can talk from now till tomorrow. They can talk about great things, how great this nation of ours is and all. But putting in the work, doing the work is actually the main problem. Chapter 4 is titled Leadership, Nigerian Style. That's Nigerian style of leadership. And he made a quote from James Booth, which I'm going to read about. James Booth actually wrote a biography on Chief Awolowo and Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe. So I'm going to read it now. In a solemn vow made by Azikiwe in 1937, he pledged that henceforth I shall utilize my earned income to secure my enjoyment of a high standard of living and also to give a helping hand to the needy.
Obafemi Awolowo was even more forthright about his ambitions. I was going to make myself formidable intellectually, morally invulnerable, to make all the money that is possible for a man with my brains and brawn to make in Nigeria.
And he compared these quotes of what Zik and Awolowo said with the works of Mboya and Nyerere of Tanzania. And he said leaders with such mindset are likely to produce aggressive behaviors rather than selfless behavior towards their people. Chapter 4 is having a subtopic titled On Unity and Faith. So, what he basically wrote was okay, is it that we picked two ideals that are very easily to bend, that are very easy to bend? He spoke about how it's very okay for two, three, four, five people to come together and unite to build a hospital, build a well for their people, build a school for their people. And it's also very bad for two, three, four, five, or more people to unite and rob a bank, steal from people, and also unity can be bent this way and that. We have righteous unity, and we have unity that are very wrong. So he also spoke on faith, that faith in religion, faith in people to do good things are very good, and faith in money, faith in talismans are bad. Like you can bend faith, you can view faith in the righteous way and in the wrong way also. So he recommended more ideal things like honesty and justice. Why not honesty and justice? These two can are very hard to be bent towards the wrong aspect of life. But if you say honesty is about truthfulness, which is a very good thing. Justice is about being just, which is a very good thing, and which we are actually lacking in Nigeria. Chapter 5 is on patriotism. He spoke about how during General Olusegun time, that's General Obasanjo, he went to the University of Nigeria on Nsukka to meet with the top heads over there, that's the top leaders of the university. And the general made a very simple request that, okay, they should read the national pledge, and a few mumbles followed with total silence. So one of the things that is frequent with us is, okay, we talk about how patriotic we are, how we love Nigeria, but he made mention that, okay, patriots are people that don't actually think that, okay, I'm a patriot, but people that actually have love for their country and can sacrifice a lot for their country. Chapter 6 is titled Social Injustice and the Cult of Mediocrity. What he wrote here basically was, he wrote about the Shagaris regime, how it was very hard for them to pay the 120 naira new minimum wage from 100 naira. And currently in Nigeria, our minimum wage is around 30,000 naira, and a lot of people still find it hard. Sorry, a lot of governments find it hard to pay her citizens the minimum wage. I can give examples, but let's leave that for another day. Chapter 7 is titled Indiscipline, and this is kind of like my favorite chapter because he used the our transportation system for as an example. He wrote about how reckless and dangerous our transportation means is, as the road transportation. He compared it with the US, where you don't find sudden pothole or sudden uh, go slow bump and the rest, yet they are having a very controlled speed limit system compared to Nigeria, where traffic is even, that's our traffic system is even very concentrated to cities and all. Here is a postscript from the chapter.
The wanton and colossal destruction of natural resources, life and limb, public utilities and private property on our highways is 1,000 times more grievous than the wildest threat armed robbers and other violent criminals can pose to our society's security. In non-material terms, mass indiscipline on the road, which has long deteriorated into lawlessness, fosters a national style which must and does inevitably spill over into other areas of national conduct. We must now recognize the emergency status of this situation and treat it accordingly. The descent into mere anarchy must be halted and reversed. A presidential commission on road safety is urgently called for. It should be given sweeping powers to draw up and implement a program for sanity on Nigerian roads. This is not another commission for emirs and religious leaders to sit on or an opportunity to reward party stalwarts. A serious and business-like commission will not only tackle and solve the problem at hand, It will also remove the excuse of certain state governments for creating paramilitary formations for political purposes.
Chapter 8 is titled Corruption. So, in this chapter, he wrote about how Shagari went famous, that President Shagari went famous because he said Nigeria is actually corrupt, but the corruption is not at an alarming stage. So, he said any president of Nigeria that is actually saying, okay, Nigeria is this and that, but it's not, Nigeria is corrupt, but it's not at an alarming stage, is either a crook, a fool, or living out of the country. And he said Shagari is neither a crook nor a fool. So that means Shagari was actually living outside of the country. And I related this to a comment Barry made recently, but I'm not going to talk more about it. So let's go to the next chapter. Chapter 9 is titled The Igbo Problem. And in this chapter, he talked about how the boisterous nature of the Igbo person, or should I say the success of the Igbo tribe in general, is actually one of the reasons why they go through what they go through. And he also wrote a little bit about the Civil War. Chapter 10 is titled The Example of Aminu Kano. So in this chapter, he wrote, I think Aminu Kano had just died. So he wrote a tribute to Aminu Kano, and he also spoke about his political aspiration briefly. So thank you very much for watching. I'll have a new video for you guys next week on the new book I'm reading. Stay tuned.